Welcome back to the KC Sports Report. I'm your host, Michael Darcy, and today I have the pleasure of being joined by my good friend Lucas Murphy. He's the beat writer for a bunch of different sites, and today we're going to talk about some of the hype surrounding Isiah Pacheco and if it's warranted or unwarranted. So Chiefs Kingdom, if you've been paying attention at all this offseason, you have heard the name Isiah Pacheco. The Chiefs selected Isiah Pacheco out of Rutgers at the end of the 7th round. He's a running back, and he can absolutely fly. At the Combine, he ran a 4.37 at the 40-yard dash. He's 5'11", 216, big-bodied running back, and he's 23 years old, and ever since training camp hit, he has been a must-watch guy for Chiefs fans. He's been taking reps with the first-team offense all throughout camp, and he's looked okay in the preseason. But, kind of where my expectations and my thoughts, they lie differently than most of Chiefs fans. I said on Twitter that I think that some of the hype that he's getting is unfair and unwarranted, and I just think that it's because we're propping him up to be some guy that could be a Kareem Hunt type figure, and I just don't believe that to be true, not quite yet at least. So Lucas, what are your thoughts on Isiah Pacheco? Do you believe the hype, and what are your thoughts on this whole situation?
Yeah, for sure. Once again, I appreciate you having me.
It's great for Lucas to be back. Sorry, I didn't say that.
No, man, I'm super pumped to be talking to you. But yeah, I think the hype is real. I think the tools, in baseball, we often refer to him as tools, 5-tool player. I think he has all the tools when it comes to being a running back in the NFL. You went over his size, his speed, and his ability to just play the running back position. One thing that I think the Chiefs look for in most running backs is the ability to catch the football. I think that's something that Eric Bieniemy really likes. I also think one thing that most people probably won't hit on when they talk about him, and I saw it the other day in training camp, is his ability to block as a running back, to pick up that, rushing whatever linebacker or, an edge, and he has the ability to block. I think that's a big piece with him, especially with his size, like you mentioned. So I do think the hype is real. But what's unique about him, too, is he doesn't have to be that guy. Like, he's not coming in to be the starter. He obviously has Clyde in front of him. There's a chance that he may have another veteran in front of him. So he's going to be able to work into it. And one thing we got to remember, too, is he got drafted very late. So the expectations probably aren't very high. Maybe for him they're extremely high. But I think that they just want to work him in and make him be a gadget tool guy and see what ends up happening. I do think the hype is real, though, to answer your question.
Well, what you just said, I don't entirely disagree with. I think that he's a talented player. I mean, to be running with the ones in training camp, you got to have some talent, and you got to be willing to do that. And I think that, he could be a fine player in the future. The problem that I have is if you scroll Chiefs Twitter, you're going to see fans saying that, he's going to have 1,000 yards this season. He's going to compete for RB1. He's going to beat out Clyde. That's too much for me. Like, the hype at that point has gone too far. I think that
Correct.
He could potentially be RB2 out of the gate. I don't think that Ronald Jones has proven anything, and Jerick McKinnon has been solid, but I think Isiah Pacheco has done more in training camp. But I think that there's a line in the sand, and a lot of Chiefs fans have crossed that line. I think he's going to be a fine player. He's going to have that chance to kind of break into the NFL and get some opportunity to flourish. But people said the same thing to an extent about Darwin Thompson and the same thing about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And what did Clyde do his rookie season? He was a first-round draft pick, and he didn't have 1,000 yards. Like, I think a realistic expectation for Isiah Pacheco is playing, let's say, 15 to 25% of the snaps. And if he had 300 rushing yards this season, I would be ecstatic. I think that is a perfect number for a rookie, a 7th-round draft pick to have 300 rushing yards from scrimmage. Like, that's awesome. That is fantastic, and I would sign up for that right now. But I think we live in a world right now where Chiefs fans would be genuinely upset if he didn't have more than 500 or 600 rushing yards.
I think that, to me, that's more realistic because we know the health concerns of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And, to go along, too, we saw Darrell Williams go from an undrafted free agent to basically starting last year and really having a major role. And, now he gets picked up and he's down in Arizona. So I think, like, with the running back position, you can find those types of guys. And I definitely think, like, 500, 600, maybe even 700 yards is possible. It just depends on really how the Chiefs use him. And I think that's what's so unique about the Chiefs is they have such depth at a lot of positions, specifically the running back position. And we're talking about maybe a guy that they really look to sign in Ronald Jones not making this team. So, but I think Pacheco, man, I think he's going to be something special. I think if we're really going to say it, I could see him doing a combined 1,000 yards where he catches and rushes for 1,000 because I think you're going to see him catch the ball quite a bit.
I'm just worried that Andy Reid is not going to utilize this guy in the way that we all think that he is. And I think, when you look back at it, what running back in his first year has had an explosive season from an Andy Reid offense? It just doesn't happen that often. I guess you could say maybe Kareem Hunt, but Kareem Hunt was a different breed. So, I just kind of think that, the Isiah Pacheco hype for a 7th-round draft pick, for me, it's kind of extreme right now. I think that if he provides anything this season, it's a bonus. But, I also am under the opinion that the running back position, it's hard to have a bad running back. There's a lot of great running backs. The good and great running backs are kind of the same. And that's why the Chiefs have had so much success at that position for so long now, because you don't need to have a Derrick Henry to succeed. You don't need to have a Jonathan Taylor to be fantastic because, if you're an average or solid running back, you're going to be good enough to get the job done in a pass-heavy league. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think that, Isiah Pacheco is a guy that my expectations are very low. I'm not saying that he couldn't exceed my expectations. I just think that for his current value for the team and what he brings, it's kind of unfair in his rookie season to say, hey, he's going to be this 800, 900 yards from scrimmage kind of guy and just explode onto the scene, when I think that this offense just has way too many weapons for him to just be that good. You know what I mean?
Well, and, I think that's kind of just Chiefs fans, I would say current Chiefs fans. And the reason I say that is just because, we've had so much success more recently with guys. And, so we're going to comp him to kind of what we're familiar with. And I think that's why you'll see a lot of guys probably comp him to Kareem Hunt. And, the same goes right now for, Sky Moore. Sky Moore is getting some comparisons to some very talented receivers. It's we got to see him actually – and I'm a huge Sky Moore fan.
Yeah,
I remember writing a huge piece on KCSportsReport.com about Sky Moore and how excited I was. Hopefully that the Chiefs would draft him. But the thing is, we still have to see him perform in an actual live game. And so I think the same goes for Pacheco. Yeah, we can see him blow through a hole during training camp, and we can see him shine in a preseason game where guys are maybe going 75%. They're going, but they're not trying to get hurt. And so once they really strap it up and it's September 11th and we're in Arizona, and if Pacheco starts to go off, then, that's where we really start to believe the hype and truly see what he's all about.
Well, and that's what I think is so crazy, that we're talking about Isiah Pacheco like that, but Sky Moore has been just as good, if not better, and he's not really getting any of that kind of hype. And that's why I think that, Chiefs fans just kind of have to calm down a little bit because, as I was telling you off air, every single training camp, Chiefs fans fall in love with some specific player, and they ride with him to the very end. It was Darwin Thompson in years prior. It was Jody Fortson last year. There's that guy at every single training camp, and I don't want to say that they've been complete busts because that's just not true, but they never live up to those lofty expectations. And I don't want to say that Isiah Pacheco is that guy, but when you're setting the bar so incredibly high, it's hard for a guy to meet those expectations.
Yeah, I completely agree, 100%.
Yeah, so Lucas, do you have anything else in closing about this whole Isiah Pacheco debate thing?
I don't, but I got one other thing for you, and I really want to hear your reaction to this.
Perfect.
What do you think about Justin Reed booting that 60-plus yarder and hitting an extra point yesterday?
I tweeted this out. First of all, great for Justin Reed. Love to see a safety kick field goals and extra points. But, which by the way, he kicked like a 66-yarder at training camp practice, which I don't think people understand how absurd that actually is. But what I said on Twitter, I was like, Harrison Butker better be very cautious this year. If he's not good enough, I know Justin Reed can make extra points. Like, I don't know. It's all fun and games, and that's what, I think Andy Reid is so good at, that in a meaningless preseason game, he's going to let the guys have fun. And that's exactly what he allowed Justin Reed to do. And I think that's kind of why the Chiefs have this great culture around them.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one thing that they talked about. I was really listening yesterday to kind of the sidelines interviews and stuff like that. And they really say Andy Reid runs a very old school type of training camp where practices are very long, very hard. They get into pads as quick as possible. And but the thing is he obviously is one of the best players, coaches there is. And like you said, that was a perfect example yesterday. It's a meaningless game, but to let him go out there and kick an extra point, that probably made him so happy, and it hyped up the team. It builds chemistry. So yeah, man, I'm super excited for that. And like you said, I saw the other day the Baltimore Ravens kicker signed this massive deal again, and he's basically, they're talking about how he's going to be a sure Hall of Famer. But then 2 or 3 down on the list was Harrison Butker for accuracy in field goals. And I was like, man, that's pretty crazy. So I figured I'd bring it up to you about Justin Reid and just see what your thoughts were.
No, I'm glad you did, because that, honestly, we should talk about that more. But yeah, that was a great moment. And, I don't want to say that it's boring watching Chiefs football in the preseason, because it's not. But, seeing something that's actually exciting when you got the 3rd and 4th stringers out there that are kind of just fighting for their job, seeing that was awesome. Seeing Justin Reid give the game a little bit more excitement, I'm definitely not complaining over here. So, Lucas, this has been a great episode. Where can the people find you?
Head over to the Beat of KC. You guys are going to see a lot kind of shift up. I still talk Royals, still talk KU, but you're going to probably get a little bit more personal, Lucas, fitness, and just kind of what I've been doing on a day-to-day basis. So head over to the Beat of KC.
Hey, man, you're killing it in the fitness side. As a fellow fitness warrior and someone that's trying to get back into shape, I see the grind for sure.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, that's definitely changed the lifestyle, trying to eat better, try to lose some pounds. So that's what
we're all
about.
That's what we're all trying to do. But as for me, you can follow me on Twitter. That is @KC Sports Report, and Instagram is KC_Sports Report. This video is being shot on a Sunday from the Sports Radio 810 WHB studios. And until next time, guys, thank you for watching this video, and go Chiefs.